Good evening and welcome to this edition of the Evening News for today, Saturday, October 26, 2024. I am Jarrell Bryan. Thank you for tuning in. In the headlines, one bandit killed, another injured in botched robbery at Port MOURANT Market. Guyana awaiting dialogue with Suriname on financing structure for Corentyne River Bridge, EDGHILL. Biodiversity education top priority in Zoo Botanical Gardens rehab. And armed bandits snatch Hennessy, cash from Chinese-owned supermarket. Now for the news in detail. We begin tonight's newscast by telling you that a suspected bandit is now dead after he and an accomplice attacked a jeweler at the Port MOURANT Market in Region 6 this morning. Our Burmese correspondent, Andrew Carmichael, reports that the accomplice was also injured during the incident but managed to escape, though empty-handed. Here is that story.
Two men, one armed with a cutlass and the other with a handgun, attacked a jeweler at the Port MOURANT Market on Saturday and took away all of the jewelry he had on sale. At the time, Daniel Dask and his employee were at the jewelry stand when a man brandishing a cutlass approached them and ordered them to lie on the floor. The worker was hit with the weapon. Eyewitnesses say they thought that the bandit was operating alone at the time. Nevertheless, after emptying the glass case and putting the booty into his bag, persons in the vicinity attacked him. As this was happening, his accomplice fired 2 shots, hitting one of the rescuers in his foot and thigh. Despite being shot twice, the injured man, who was also armed with a cutlass, dealt several chops to the shooter, causing him to fall to the ground. At this point, other public-spirited persons pounced on the armed suspect. Meanwhile, his accomplice, who was carrying the cutlass, was also chopped in the head and managed to escape, but not before dropping the bag with the loot. The gunman then escaped as well, but was chased by several persons through several streets in Port MOURANT. The suspect made it about 300 meters away before collapsing at the construction site of the oil and gas campus. Meanwhile, the injured helper, who was shot twice, was rushed to the Port MOURANT hospital. Police responded at the scene and escorted the injured bandit to the hospital, where he subsequently died. When the evening news visited the scene, the pants that the gunman was wearing at the market were left behind at the spot where he collapsed. This is the area where the bandit dropped and subsequently died. Eyewitnesses say that one of the wounds partly severed his spinal bone. From Port MOURANT in Region 6 and the Corentyne, for the evening news, Andrew Carmichael.
Police have arrested a 28-year-old man who, along with 2 others, allegedly robbed a Chinese-owned supermarket at Kurukururu on the Suicide Linden Highway Friday night. Based on reports, Chinese businessman Zenfa and his staff were preparing to close the supermarket when the 3 suspects entered the premises, and one of them held everyone at gunpoint. While the armed man stood guard at the door, the 2 other suspects went behind the cashier counter and took $500,000 in cash along with $150,000 in GTT and Digicel phone cards. The men also grabbed 3 bottles of Hennessy from the shelf valued at $60,000. Some public-spirited citizens who realized what was happening went to the aid of the victims. However, the 3 suspects managed to escape and discharged several rounds in the air as they fled. Police were summoned to the scene, and based on the information gathered from the victims, detectives arrested 28-year-old Jason Richard of Independence Boulevard, Albois Town. He was spotted in the area wearing the same clothing as one of the suspects caught on the CCTV footage. Checks were made for the other 2 suspects, but they were not located. Nevertheless, investigations are ongoing. With a contractor already identified by both the Guyana and Suriname governments to build the Corentyne River Bridge, Public Works Minister Juan EDGHILL said the final stage is to formulate and approve the financing structure for the project. Details in this Trichal Sobers report.
The Evening News understands that both the governments of Guyana and Suriname have approached China for financing. However, with the terms and structure for financing incomplete, talks have halted. Public Works Minister Juan EDGHILL explained that the Guyana government is ready to move forward, but due to challenges affecting the sovereign state of Suriname, the joint ministerial team is unable to do so.
We are ready. Like I said, I can speak definitively for Guyana. Suriname, because they got their own structural adjustment programs and what's happening with the IMF and all the rest of it, and I think we should not go into that because as a sovereign state, and I could only just peripherally say that we have some challenges. They have to work out how their borrowing or accessing funding fits into their strategic program that they are presently in with the IMF, and we are waiting on them to work through that. I believe that President Santoki and President Ali has been speaking about it. Foreign Minister of Suriname and the Foreign Minister of Guyana have been in conversations.
According to EDGHILL, construction on the bridge will begin once the financial agreement is finalized. He explained that an avenue exists for Guyana to fast-track the project and develop the financing structure. However, it must be agreed to by the Surinamese government, given that it is a joint venture project.
The ministerial teams have been established, the technical teams have been established. We've gone out for the consultancies, for the design. We have gotten the proposals. We've got the evaluation. The only thing is to agree on the financing. Or there will have to be some agreement between Guyana and Suriname, how Guyana could proceed while Suriname gets its house in order. So
the Corentyne River Bridge is one of the first agreements between Presidents Ali and Santoki, with both heads previously underscoring the critical role the bridge would play in advancing cooperation and creating more opportunities for development for both countries. The Corentyne River Bridge will be approximately 3.1 kilometers in length and would connect Molson Creek in Guyana to South Drain in Suriname, with a landing on Long Island in the Corentyne River, where a commercial hub and tourist destination would be established. That duty-free zone would see major infrastructural development such as hotels, recreational parks, entertainment spots, tourist attractions, small malls, and farmers markets. Trishelle Sobers, Evening News.
A little over a month ago, President Dr. Irfaan Ali went on a tour of the Royal Dumfries Estate in Scotland, which is known for its textile and other innovative enterprises. According to the head of state, these innovative practices can be replicated and implemented throughout the Commonwealth. Here are the details. During a dinner hosted by King Charles III for global leaders attending the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting 2024 in Samoa, President Dr. Irfaan Ali had the honor of proposing the toast. The Guyanese head of state used the occasion to reflect on his visit last month to Dumfries House, an estate in Scotland owned by King Charles. But while the estate is one of many the royal family owns, it is being used to train youths and develop pilot projects for the good of the people of the United Kingdom. President Ali described what he saw during his visit.
During a memorable day on the estate, as I said, I saw the champion himself at work. Young people who might otherwise struggle to find work were being trained and employed, restoring dignity and empowering them to contribute to their communities. Traditional building skills were being preserved, merging the best of the past with the promises of today. Children were receiving STEM education, equipping them for meaningful futures. Sustainable housing initiatives offered underprivileged communities a stake in society and a foundation for decent lives. A wellness center dedicated to mental health, established well ahead of its time, now stands as a vital resource for the National Health Service.
The head of state went on to urge other Commonwealth leaders to pay a visit to Dumfries House for themselves. He further expressed hope that King Charles, in much the way Guyana is already partnering with his King's Foundation to improve urban spaces, will also extend this collaboration to other countries too.
I believe that as a family, as a Commonwealth family, if we can all visit that estate and learn about the contribution of that estate in the transformation of that community, and witness for ourselves the innovation, we will all want to have such an estate of harmony and innovation in each of our country. And I think this should be an aspiration of all of us to work with His Majesty King Charles on establishing such an estate of harmony and innovation in each of the Commonwealth member family. And Your Majesty, we hope you'll be kind enough to share this skill of developing the estate of harmony and innovation in each of our countries.
At present, the King's Foundation is helping Guyana to do a citywide modernization of Georgetown, the capital city. President Ali had said that Georgetown would be transformed into a more family and pedestrian-friendly space. The city, he had said, would be divided into 4 sections, including sections dedicated to culture, green walkways, and city parks. Added to this is the government's plans to plant 50,000 flowering trees in 5 years throughout urban areas. Jarrell Bryan, The Evening News. Coming up on the other side of the break, biodiversity education top priority in Zoo Botanical Gardens rehab. Please stay tuned.
The Guyana Elections Commission GCOM is currently conducting a national registration exercise. Who can register? Anyone who will be 14 years or older by December 31st, 2024 and is a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent, naturalization, or is a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more. Types of transactions. Anyone eligible for registration is required to visit the registration office responsible for his or her area of residence to apply for registration. Persons who are already registered could apply for a name change if they have changed their names since they were last registered. Apply for corrections if there is incorrect information on their national ID cards. Persons who are desirous of conducting any of the above transactions must provide the relevant supporting documents. Persons who are already registered could request that their photographs be retaken if the quality of the photographs on their ID cards is unacceptable. Collect their new ID cards if they have not done so as yet. This registration exercise will end on November 29, 2024. For further information, please contact GCOM on the following hotline numbers: 225-027729, 226-6557, 223-9650, or visit the GCOM website at www.gcom.org.
Guys, I think I'm in love! Wow!
Yeah, I was looking at you too.
What? What are you talking about? I'm in the tiles. Where did you get them?
Oh, me, Madeka. Obviously the best tile store in Guyana. Come, let me take you there.
My kitchen, my bathroom, my floors. Mima Decor has everything. And the prices are great too.
So, yeah, I want to have a date now.
We can build on that.
Welcome back. You're watching the Evening News. Students will not be exempted from the transformational works of the National Zoological Park, as Vice President Barry Jagdeo is spearheading an initiative to educate the nation's youth on Guyana's biodiversity. Michael Henry joins us with more.
With a high emphasis placed on students, Vice President Dr. Barry Jagdeo revealed that in-depth plans are set to incorporate Guyana's young minds into the overall beautification of the park in a bid to educate them about the country's biodiversity. During a public consultation engagement on Friday evening, Jagdeo noted that the vision for the beautification project also contains an introduction of animals that are not commonly seen on the coastal land, which will grant kids an opportunity to witness them for the first times in their lives.
We are doing this more for our children. And therefore, today I wanted to hear from them first before the others come. We have to ensure that our children and coastal people who may not understand the challenges of climate change and the challenges of sustainability, or who may not have been exposed to our flora and fauna, will never have an opportunity to go and see an anteater, a giant anteater, because they never ever get to go into the forest.
As the government forges ahead into the path of education, students will also have the opportunity to learn about Guyana's strides in maintaining its biodiversity.
A lot of facilities in here would be focused on teaching and familiarization, and also a safe space for our children and families to come in and enjoy what we have as a country, to be expose them to this. Our children, this exposure to the challenges of the future is vital so they can keep this country safe and sustainable 100 years from now.
Meanwhile, the advisor to the Protected Areas Commission, Damian Fernandez, unveiled the initial plans for the transformative project. These plans include a new vehicle entrance and green parking areas, designated spaces to showcase the uses of various flora and fauna, an education and orientation plaza incorporating indigenous features, and a wildlife conservation and education center. Michelle Henry, The Evening News.
Former Guyana Prize for Literature winner, now British-based author Professor David Aberdeen, is launching a novel that will offer unique perspectives on life in both 19th century Guyana and China. Here are the details. Guyanese-born author Professor David Aberdeen is launching a new book, this time one that will offer insights into what life was like in both 19th century Guyana and China. The book, Sweet Liji, centers on Jia Yun, one of many Chinese immigrants who came to Guyana in the 19th century looking for a better life. According to Aberdeen, in an interview with this newscast, the inspiration for the book came from a desire to explore a hitherto underserved period in Guyana's history. Aberdeen, who is a former Guyanese ambassador to China, said that he came up with the idea for the characters during his time in that country.
I did visit some villages in China when I was there, and so I set the novel in a village, an obscure village in China, in the south of China, and I created a character, a young girl whose father was murdered by Japanese invaders, and who was completely traumatized by it, and a young man who tries to woo her, but she's always distant and terrified of kind of men, as it were, and so that's at the heart of the story. They are taken in by the landlord of the village and cared for, and the suitor who falls in love with Sweet Liji, he then migrates to Guyana. He talks about the tensions as well as the collaborations between the different ethnic groups, and he's seeing it naively or innocently, since he's now encountering a new country.
He also spoke about the themes the book covers, such as love and death. According to Aberdeen, he hopes to transport readers to 19th century China and Guyana.
At the heart of one's concerns as a novelist, but any other writer will tell you this, the two great emotions are love and death. So it's a novel about love and death. And what happens between love and death. I have many other characters in the novel. There's a kind of a circus performer, there's a mother figure, there's a hunchback, and so on, you know. So you create a panoply of characters and you make them interact. So what I hope is that people reading the novel will have a sense of China in the 19th century. A sense of Chinese people as people like you and I. You know, they're not exotic in any way. They have the same concerns about love, survival, death, and so on. So I wanted to kind of, if you like, humanize China for our readership.
Aberdeen has authored a number of books, poetry collections, and non-fiction works. In addition to the Guyana Prize for Literature, he has also won the Commonwealth Poetry Prize. Jarrell Bryan, The Evening News. 3 youth empowerment mentorship programs were launched earlier today in Region 6, bringing the total number of men on mission initiatives in Berbice to 5. Let's find out more from our Berbice correspondent, Andrew Carmichael.
The Youth Empowerment Program seeks to provide mentorship, academic guidance, and support life skills for adolescents. Following the initial programs, which were launched in the capital city, and the second at Lethem, 3 editions were on Saturday launched across Region 6 at New Amsterdam, Hampshire on the Lower Corentyne, and Line Park Riverton on the Upper Corentyne. The program is being coordinated by the Men on Mission in collaboration with the private sector. Chief Coordinator of Men on Mission, Lieutenant Colonel Brideshwar Morley said the initial program is proving successful and hence the need to have it rolled out in every region.
We are excited about this program. By connecting our youngsters with supportive role models, we aim to instill confidence, inspire ambition, and foster personal and professional development. Through this program, we aspire to see our young people thrive, equipped with positive habits, skills, and knowledge needed to navigate life's challenges and seize opportunities in our beautiful, bountiful Guyana.
In the two programs already established in Region 4 and 9, assistance is given to participants every school afternoon with their school homework and schoolwork they might not have been able to grasp fully. Region 6 Chairman David Armagon, speaking at the launch of the program at the Smithfield Drop-In Center in New Amsterdam, pointed out that Men on Mission has been very active in Region 6.
So this program will naturally give the young people an opportunity to be exposed not only to academic training, which is basically English and maths, because what we find in the school system is that there is a paucity in terms of children passing the English and maths program in the CSEC examination and in National Grade 6 examination. And so we want to bring people up to scratch to ensure that they can be able to write these exams and pass these exams. So besides the academic training, there are many other forms of training that you'll be exposed to. Entrepreneurial training, training to do with how you operate in society, your role as a citizen of Guyana, your role as a young person.
Meanwhile, Natural Resource Minister Vikram Bharat explained that Men Mission has been adding to what the government has been doing.
There are so many opportunities that exist for you today. But if you don't take advantage of the opportunities and grab them, one day you're going to sit by yourself and say that you're unlucky. And you will look at somebody else who is successful, who's probably sitting right among you here and is awake and focused. You will look at that person and say, oh, he lucky.
Men on Mission was established in October 2022 with its then objective to influence behavior change among men who have not been living up to their social and other responsibilities. The initiative was the brainchild of President Dr. Irfan Ali. Andrew Carmichael, The Evening News.
And now for a look at the bridge report.
The Damar Harbour Bridge will be closed to vehicular traffic on Sunday, October 27, 2024 at 1 hour for a period of 1.5 hours. Meanwhile, the Berbice River Bridge is expected to be closed at 13 hours 40 on Sunday, October 27, 2024, also for a period of 1.5 hours.
Warm-up track nearing completion at NTFC. This and more coming up in the Sportscast after the break.
When it comes to power tools, you know very well that Sylvie's Variety Store is your household name in that department. Among the very best in U.S. and European craftsmanship and technology comes the rigid line of DeWalt and Black & Decker power tools. No job is ever too difficult for our collection, including the cordless line for much convenience. So when buying a quality brand like DeWalt or Black & Decker, check Sylvie's Variety Store on High and Hadfield Streets, Georgetown.
The Guyana Elections Commission GCOM is currently conducting a national registration exercise. Who can register? Anyone who will be 14 years or older by December 31st, 2024 and is a Guyanese citizen by birth descent, naturalization, or is a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more. How to apply for registration. You must visit the GCOM registration office that is responsible for the registration of persons from your area of residence to apply for registration or name change or correction. You must be in possession of the following source documents as might be relevant: original birth certificate or valid Guyana passport for new registration, original marriage certificate and original birth certificate in the case of a name change by way of marriage, original deed poll and original birth certificate in the case of a name change by deed poll, original naturalization certificate and original birth certificate or valid passport in the case of naturalization. This registration exercise will end on November 29th, 2024. For further information, please contact GCOM on the following hotline numbers: 225-027729, 226-6557, 223-9650, or visit the GCOM website at www